Hello there. What's going on, everybody? We're doing a live stream tonight. We're just gonna hang out and have a little fun on this. What is this? This is a Sunday night. We all got to go to work tomorrow. Well, some of us. Not everybody works the same hours, but yeah, we've got probably whoever you are. I'm sure you got something to do tomorrow. So we're gonna hang out and just kind of cover some Q&A and just kind of chat with you guys about everything that's been going on in the world of Star Wars. I know there's been a lot of talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ewan McGregor being in talks to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, or not movie, but miniseries. So that is apparently happening, but it's not confirmed yet. And so, because the talks could maybe fall through, and maybe he, isn't available when they want to do it, because this sort of thing has happened before. Whereas the rumors go completely out of control, and everybody kind of loses their mind. So that's kind of the thing. But yeah, so I am thinking on the mindset that I think the Ewan McGregor thing is probably going to happen. And also I want to talk a little bit about Star Wars Resistance, Disney Plus, which is getting closer and closer, and I think we should also talk about gaming as well, because of course we should talk gaming. I actually got some cool stuff to show you guys too. So let's see. We're gonna talk about gaming. So we have got ourselves Disney Plus that's getting ready to start soon. I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing will definitely be on there, but at the same time, a lot of other stuff was ending. Star Wars Rebels came to an end when it was very, very, very popular. Star Wars Resistance has already basically been finalized, and it barely even took off. Season 2 is usually when you can tell how good something like that's going to be. And the Season 2 trailer looks like it will have a little bit more cool stuff in it than we're used to. So that's good. I mean, I'm happy about that. But at the same time, I'm like, why are they canceling it after just 2 seasons, right? And cancel is kind of a subjective word, because they are not necessarily canceling it. They're just saying, well, this is the end. It was as if it were supposed to have only been 2 seasons all along. So what I think is, in order for them to put it on Disney Plus as opposed to not being on the Disney Channel and in syndication with all these other cable networks, all these other cable companies that they would have had to have distributed the program to, to pull it out. There's probably some types of contracts, hey, when they talk to Bright House, Spectrum, Cox Cable, all these different cable companies, and they say, all right, we're going to air this new show on your through your cable lines. They probably have to sign some kind of contract or whatever, and so it's probably a whole lot easier if a show is just over, and then start something all new on Disney Plus, as opposed to trying to pull something from one and put it to the other. So that's kind of what I think. That's kind of what I think happened. I think it was going to be easier to do that. So that being said, that's kind of what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to see a lot of new shows, and that's why the timing of the whole Obi-Wan thing is actually good timing, because I think it's pretty reasonable that we would see a new Obi-Wan show. Obi-Wan's popular. Ewan McGregor wants to come back. Now, I'm not really convinced it's the most interesting thing. I mean, are they going to have him leave Tatooine and effectively leave Luke unprotected? If they have him leaving Tatooine to go on other adventures, it's going to be really hard, because he'll never be in danger, because he can't die, right? Or can't have any limbs cut off or whatever. So I feel like I don't want to see an Obi-Wan show, but at the same time, somebody said to me, my friend said, it could be Ewan McGregor just drinking coffee and having a talk with people about the weather, as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'd want to watch it. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. I'm down for whatever it is. Ultimately, as far as plot goes, though, I would be more interested if it were creatively done, if it dealt with the Force and had flashbacks and and stuff. But I have such a problem. My number one wish with Star Wars is that they'll stop jumping back and forth in time and telling stories about people that we already know how those people end up, or that we already know somebody saved. I'm so tired of backstories I don't. It's just, I'm overwhelmed with backstories because that's all. It feels like that's all we're ever gonna get is backstories and backstory. Like take the story forward. That's why I'm so excited about episode 9. It's forward. We don't know what's gonna happen. Everybody's fair game, and anybody could be safe, anybody could die, they could all die, every planet could blow up. Let's just see what happens. Tell me a story. Don't tell me the ending first and then tell me the rest of the story. I don't like to read the last page of the book before I pick the book up. But that's the way, that Star Wars is told, and it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Like, I'm just so tired of middle stories, too. So, that being said, let's see, what else is there I wanted to talk a little bit about. The Mandalorian, I have a theory for you with The Mandalorian, too, is that they're going to get Tamura to come back and play a clone again, but not a regular clone. They'll get him to play Boba Fett. And, he's at the right age, because, having played all of the clone troopers and Jango Fett, if they get him to come back, he's older now, so he would be perfect for him to play Boba Fett. And I could just see, like, maybe a season 1 ending, Pedro Pascal's character is, like, walking into a cantina and, like, kills somebody or whatever, and it's just, like, or, takes him out, finally defeats, like, some villain, and then the cantina, and then you see this character, it's Tamura, and he looks over, it's like, you just killed my bounty, and now it's on. And that's where it ends. It just ends right there. And then so that the whole off season, everybody's like, "Was that Boba Fett? Was that Boba Fett?" It's like, well, and then the speculation starts, and all the geeks like us sit there and it's like, well, it could have been a younger clone, or it could have been so and so. We know Rex was at the Battle of Endor. That wasn't that far away from and so we would get there talking about all of that stuff. That would be really, really cool. And and then of course then like if I was writing it, then season 2, when you do start off with like exactly where season 1 ended, with him fighting and probably have Boba Fett get the upper hand on him, like knocks him out, maybe takes his credits or whatever, as like doesn't kill him though. It's like, well, you killed my bounty, but I'll take this as compensation. He was worth a lot to me, or something like that. And then goes off. And then so they have a little bit of a rivalry, and that goes on for like 2 or 3 episodes. You do see him kind of put on some armor or something like that. That's, but he doesn't do the full thing. Like you see him like with the breastplate and the colors and stuff like that. And it's maybe even more scarred up. Maybe like a new jetpack, though. Like, right? New jetpack, but like basically familiar, recognizable armor. And then... And then it goes away, and then like you don't see him again until like maybe the end of the season. Like maybe they have to team up against some like really, really, really bad, like Black Cranston or some similar, like some really bad force, whether it be Imperial or neutral, or like some ultimate bounty hunter or somebody that's just gone crazy. Like some bounty hunter's gone crazy, and then like they have to team up to take him down. And then that's when you finally see Boba Fett put like the armor, that full armor on with the helmet and everything. And then basically you treat him as a recurring character, but only once in a while, kind of like how Ahsoka was in Star Wars Rebels. She was not in every episode, but she was in some of the big episodes. I think that would be amazing. When certain characters are just the right age to do it, I mean, you got to take advantage of that stuff, and that would really, really help drive. The Mandalorian's already got a lot of hype behind it, but yeah, that would really help drive it. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that is very, very cool. So let's see, what do we got here? So I got some fan mail I want to show you guys. I did a P.O. Box pickup today, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what this was at first. I did not know what this was at first. So let me take some questions first, and then I'll jump into what we got today. Let's see. Do you think the SSD will be competitive in tournaments? No. I mean, it depends. It depends. It could be. It could be. But I think ultimately, honestly, I feel like a Simoon can do what an SSD can do in a lot of ways for a lot cheaper, and then give you like, I think most times where you would bring an SSD, I think I would almost rather just bring like a Simoon and a Demolisher, and then save points. At least for a lot of the stuff that I want to do. There's, but we've got a lot of. I think it's still new enough that there's probably some tricks people haven't figured out yet, and some combos that some people haven't figured out yet. I think it could be a little bit competitive, but I don't think it will be very competitive. And I think after a while, like after the 6 months to a year is over, you might see some people surprise people and show up with an SSD and actually do well. But a lot of it is going to be meta dependent. It really is. I made an argument on, I think, at the Armada Discord at one point where, like, oh, you don't need to bring gunnery teams on an SSD. Or you might not need to, rather. And they're like, well, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. I'm like, well, it's meta dependent, because if SSD just launches, maybe you show up to a casual play event, like, hey, let's all play. Everybody brings an SSD, and, well, if everybody's got an SSD, usually that means they don't have many ships. A lot of SSD builds are like 1 or 2 ships. So then, like, really, do you really need 3 shots out of the front arc when you're probably just going to be shooting that other SSD? So, maybe you won't need it, but so that's something that just depends on the meta. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit right now. All right, so let's see. Will I do any more Star Wars Legion? Absolutely. All right. You think they are rethinking their whole Star Wars strategy with movies and TV? Yeah, I think so. I think after Episode 9, we're going to see a lot more stuff that's more of a dramatic departure. I think they've been in the spirit of wrapping things up for the last couple of years. Wrapping up the Skywalker saga, wrapping up Star Wars Rebels. The Thrawn trilogy is now complete. They've wrapped up at least one chapter of Thrawn's life. They're wrapping up Star Wars Resistance. And they're going to start moving forward on Disney Plus. So definitely get Disney Plus. That's crazy. Yeah. So I think that's cool. But hi from the UK. Hello from Orlando, Florida. But yes. Let's see. What other units do you think they will release for the Clone Wars factions for Star Wars Legion in the next wave? Well, in the next wave, I would wager we will probably be getting something that a unit type that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen any operatives yet. We haven't seen any special forces yet. So I feel like those are due. Operatives, we can go a lot of different ways. We might be at a point where we don't like... I feel like certain characters that would work well as operatives, like Episode 1 Darth Maul. That might be a little bit too much. Like, you may be blowing your whole load of all your most iconic characters for Separatists in the first, 6 months. So they may not do that. I feel like maybe Asajj Ventress would be a better operative, for the Separatists, if they were to do that. For the Clone or for the Republic, I feel like there's a lot of different Jedi you could go with. And I think if you went with Asajj, you could go with Quinlan Vos. That would be very poetic, especially if you've ever read Dark Disciple. One of my favorite Star Wars books. Very, 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 very good book. Having Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress together would be awesome. So I would like that very much. In addition, but I think more likely we will see Special Forces. I think Special Forces will absolutely show up. And amongst those special forces, I think the most obvious is Magna Guard for the Separatists, because we've seen them on so many pieces of artwork. I think the Magna Guard is an absolute expectancy. And I think similarly, you could get the Chancellor's Royal Guard, whatever basically the Emperor's Royal Guard, but the guys in blue that basically you see in the Republic. I think that is very likely. So, basically, I think that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to get those Guardian guys. Now, usually a wave of Star Wars Legion is 6 expansions. You get 2 for one faction, 2 for another faction, 2 for another faction. Usually, it'll be like a core, a support, and a special forces for each faction, and that's like a whole wave. So... I'm not sure, but they don't necessarily announce the whole wave at the same time. After the Clone Wars, we got a whole wave of stuff. But sometimes there's, we are also due for the generic commanders and that kind of that unit specialists pack that we got for Empire and Republic, or Empire and Rebellion rather, where you have your nurse or your medic droid that can heal, and you've got your generic commander that can either be a unit leader or a commander unit, and things like that. I think those are also an expectancy, things we can get. And then, I'm really kind of just following the same playbook they used for the first grouping. I wouldn't be surprised to see another support soon too. We've kept seeing those spider droid things, those little spider droid tank things for the Separatists. I wouldn't be surprised to see those. Not 100% sure what the another good support might be for the Republic right now. I honestly, I guess an ATRT for the Republic would be, it'd be a new thing. It wouldn't be all that glamorous though. And I think if you had to drop that, I think it would be fair to drop an ATRT for the Republic after this new hover tank is coming out, because you already got some glitz and glamour. Now you can go with something a little bit less glamorous because you've already attracted people with enough other stuff. So an ATRT is probably coming as well. That's my guess. But it'll probably look cooler. It might even be a whole different sculpt, like with more armor plating and stuff. It's possibly. But yes, for Special Forces, ARC Troopers, definitely Commando Droids. That makes sense. Also, those could happen. They may be farther down the line. I don't think we'll get 2 Special Forces back to back, but I think we'll get 2 Special Forces fairly close, like maybe one wave apart. So like maybe 3 or 4 months apart from each other. That seems reasonable. I think another good operative for the Separatists would be Jango Fett. I think that would be really cool. I really want to see Mace Windu and Kit Fisto. And I don't care how they give them to me. I want lots of Jedi. I'm really hoping they change up they flip the script, and I hope we can see Jedi as generic core units. Like, I want to see a generic Jedi Knight, and he's a whole core unit all by himself, and he has like maybe one extra personnel. You can add like a Padawan to him. I would love that, and especially if they give the Padawan like some different alien faces and bodies, so that you can build your Jedi and your Padawan differently to make, but like, so give them each multiple heads and make, I would love that. I really, really love that. Yeah, that's what I would like. All right, let's see. So that was a lot of Legion speculation. I should probably write all that stuff down, and maybe I'll do a Legion speculation video. Any speculation on X-Wing Clone Wars epic ships? Yeah, I think I did a video on that, but shoot, off the cuff, there are plenty of smaller ships. I think the first one, I'm just going to give you one right now, I think is the one you see, the Consular class cruiser, basically that little Corvette that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan arrive in at the beginning of Episode 1. That one seems very reasonable. That's one I would expect. I would also expect that to show up in Armada Clone Wars as well. When are you going to do a Joan of Arc playthrough? Wow, Joan of Arc. So I haven't played Joan of Arc since before Gen Con. Fun game. It's a lot to set up. I spent a lot of time painting Joan of Arc, and I am currently trying to finish painting Legion stuff. So I will probably do more Joan of Arc, as I have to do some battle mode for Joan of Arc too. Very fun game, and I want to try battle mode out. So that will happen one of these days. I'm not sure when, though. I don't have a timeline on that right now. I am kind of backed up on a lot of the different videos and stuff that I have to do. I have a lot of reviews that I still have to do that are coming. So we will see. I want to do more, though. I want to do more board gaming too, and that's the thing. Since Gen Con, I've been almost exclusively Star Wars gaming, which, I mean, that's 95% of what I do anyway, but I want to get some more non-Star Wars gaming stuff in as well. Wouldn't you have to explain how Boba got out of the pit from Episode 6? Well, yes, of course. Or don't, or leave that to a book. Here's what we do know. In Aftermath, Boba Fett's armor shows up on Tatooine, and some cop or some guy gets it and becomes like a sheriff of a small little village, and he's wearing that Mandalorian armor, and it's basically Boba Fett's armor. So if Boba Fett's armor made it out of the pit of Carkoon, the man inside the armor must have also, like they've kept that story very close to their chest, and I don't know why there was the whole Boba Fett's armor made it out. I'm like, what does that even mean? Why would he get out and like leave his armor, right? Like maybe he had a whole separate set, and this one had vomit or acid from the, like, I don't even know. I don't even know why they would have done that. But they've kind of already hinted that he got out. And of course, he's one of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars. So, or beloved might not be the right word, but one of the coolest characters ever. So they're not going to throw that away, especially when they have a guy to play whom that is a perfect age to play him. That is the actual, like, the perfect guy to play him. So yeah, no, I think they'll do that. What's your suggestion for software to play Armada online? Vassal, TTS, or other? Bonus answers for X-Wing too. Well, I know Armada and X-Wing both have tabletop simulator modules that you can play. And I believe they are both on Vassal. I do not play any of those, though. Not at this time. I have played X-Wing on Tabletop Simulator. I thought it was well done, but at the same time, I found it a little bit difficult to learn because it's a whole new system. Like, not only are you playing X-Wing, but you're also having to learn all of the hotkeys and shortcuts. And there's a lot of, like, to pick up your dice, you have to hit this. But to roll your dice, you have to hit this. And if you do one, like, it's kind of like you're rolling your dice, but you're just dropping them. It's not really a roll. And all this, like, there's all, to do this, to plan this maneuver, there's, like, almost a whole, like, syntax. There's a little bit of a learning curve. Now, with Armada, I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out in Tabletop Simulator. The maneuver tool was really weird for me, and it just didn't seem right. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are playing on Vassal. I know there's a lot of people playing Armada specifically on Vassal. They have tournaments and all that sort of stuff. And I know at least there used to be a lot of people playing X-Wing on Vassal too. I'm not sure how many people are playing X-Wing on Vassal now, but yeah, they're definitely, both are fine. I think Vassal is a little bit more, what's the word, like bare bones, and a little more, straight up. Like, this is a computer program to show you this game, whereas Tabletop Simulator is like a little bit more dressed up and 3D and higher graphics and stuff like that. So I guess it depends what you're more comfortable with. But I prefer to play tabletop games in person. So, usually, especially games like Armada and stuff, because I really love the community. I love hanging out with people, talking geek stuff, and also seeing these big ships. It's something that I personally like to do. So I generally go that way instead. You made it to the top 8 this weekend in Germany. Congratulations. That's awesome. You ran Piat SSD, Demolisher, and 2 Comsnet Gazantes. SSD with Demolisher, and so it was 4 ships with an SSD. That's must have been kind of bare bones SSD, but that's cool. Are they going to do Clone Wars for Armada? Yes, they are. They announced that at Star Wars Celebration in April. I asked Andrew Navarro about Clone Wars and Armada at Gen Con, and I was told that they are targeting the end of 2020. Generally, that sounds like Q4, but that might be before Christmas. I think that would be a good time frame. If they get it out by, let's say, by October of 2020, that would be very, very good for like holiday sales as well. So that would be awesome if they could manage that. Just started with Armada and you're using my AI system. Learning a lot about the game and can't wait to get expansions. Any recommendations on what to get first? Yes, but I'm not going to go over that right now. Basically, just pick your favorite ship. Whatever you can find that you think is a cool ship, get it, because everything is viable. But I have entire video series, so please search YouTube for Crabbok, what to buy first, Armada. I have older videos and then I have newer videos, and at some point I will update those videos as well, because they're currently up to date with everything except the Super Star Destroyer, which, let's face it, that's not what you need to buy first. That'll probably be the very, very last thing you ever need to buy because it's so darn expensive. Now, if you get one on sale, like a really good sale, and it won't be anytime soon, but I'm sure eventually they will go on a big, big sale, and that'd be fun. It'd be fun to run 2 SSDs, What's the name of the store you go to play Legion and Armada? Well, I go to multiple stores, and a lot of times I play here at my house, but I will play often at Cool Stuff Waterford, Cool Stuff Inc. If you ever heard of their website, they have a lot of physical stores here in Orlando, Florida. But Legion is mostly, I usually play Legion at Sci-Fi City here in Orlando, Florida. Sci-Fi City is more of like a Warhammer 40k type environment. They have a lot more terrain and big 40k tables, so they're more conducive to Legion. And they also work for Armada. Sometimes I play Armada at Sci-Fi City as well. Whereas Cool Stuff is more of the tournament scene, has a lot more of the Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon crowd, while also having board game nights as well. And so both offer different atmospheres and different reasons to go to both. And I'm very, very close to Cool Stuff Waterford. I'm a little bit farther from Sci-Fi City, but that was how I started. I got like my first X-Wing expansions from Sci-Fi City, and I played my first game of X-Wing there, and so that store is kind of like my home store. And so I have a lot of a sense of loyalty to that store because of they've always been there for me, and they've always been very accommodating and just great folks. So, do you think we'll get the Clone Commandos in Legion? I think we'll get everything from the Clone Wars in Legion. They have they're doing so well in Legion right now. Now, if you're talking about that, which one the Republic Commando, I think so. I think that'd be a really cool one to get. Hello from the Imperial Assault side of YouTube. I have actually something you guys might be interested in. I've got a review for some really cool terrain that might work for some custom Imperial Assault type terrain. So stay tuned this week. I've got some really, really cool terrain coming that is compatible with Imperial Assault, at least for homebrew type stuff. You're gonna really love. It's really cool. So that's coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. Do you think the SSD or the Starhawk and new Star Destroyer will shake up the meta the most? Definitely the Starhawk and the new Star Destroyer. Much more of a shake up than an SSD. For one reason, the SSD has been in development since like Wave 2 or just after Wave 2. They wanted that to come out after the ISD. So it has been out there for a long time. And so I feel like the stuff that were in there, while they probably went back to the drawing board a couple of times, there wasn't as much in there that was meant to be a shake-up to the meta. Whereas the Starhawk, if you've seen my like breakdown videos for the Starhawk and the Onager, there's so much about them that is really shaking up the meta. Not just the ships themselves, but the other stuff like the salvo token alone is going to have a huge impact on the meta. Plus, the new commanders are much better. Like, the problem with the SSD is, like, the commanders were just, no, like, they're not even that big. Like, Palpatine is kind of cool, but he's so expensive. It's cheaper to just put Intel Officer on your ships, and you can do that every turn. It's not worth putting Palpatine on your ships. Like, I've tried to justify running it, and I just don't want to. I don't like Palpatine as a commander. He's way too expensive. I'll try him a couple more times, but and Piet, while he's good on the SSD, he's not super good really anywhere else. Well, not many other places. And he really just kind of works. The best use of Piet is to just turn a squadron token into a full squadron command, and that's not really that great because, well, like if you're going to run a squadron heavy list, then maybe you should just run Sloane. I don't know. But it's all right. It's all right. So I'm going to take a pause from Q&A. Keep the questions coming in. Yes, but I do want to show you guys. So I got this in the mail today. This was from one of our viewers here, Piotr, from Poland. And I thought, like, well, and I was like, what is this? And it looked like a plaque. And first I'm going to show you this one. It's got an SSD on the front, and on the back it says Peter Saber's Workshop, right? And I was like, oh, well, that's a nice little plaque. And then there's a bigger one, and it's got the SSD on there. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool, And on the back it also says Peter Saber's Workshops. And I was like, all right, well, that's kind of cool. It's a plaque, I guess. And I'm like, and I mean, like, it's really cool. But I was like, well, what what is there a purpose to the plaque? So I was sitting there, I was talking to my wife, I'm like, well, I mean, it's awesome, but like, I just don't know like what you're supposed to do with it. Is it like a coaster, like you put your drinks on it or something like that? And and she was like, "No, dummy, look at this." And then of course she slid it open, and it's magnetized, and it's a tray. So basically, it's got the magnets in here, and this is a tray for your SSD, and you can have your title on there, your commander, you've up to 4 officers, ion cannon or potentially another ion cannon, turbo laser or potentially another turbo laser, fleet command, fleet command. Basically, whatever you want. Like, and the thought that went in here is like any SSD you fit, you can put all your upgrade cards right in here. And it's funny. And then the other one is the smaller one holds your ship card, which is much bigger. And then all your defense tokens at the top, and your like, oh my gosh, that's really cool, really cool. I love it. It's awesome. And then it snaps on. So the funny thing is, I was filming some battle reports today, and using the SSD, and I really, I should have checked the PO box beforehand, because then I could have used these in today's battle reports, which will be coming to Patreon for early access, but you guys will get to see them all as well. So that's like one of the perks for patrons. I think at the A-Wing level and above, they're going to get early access to battle reports and so on and so forth. So that's cool. But yeah, so big thanks to Peter Saber's workshop. These are super cool, and I will we'll have to make it a point to have those. Especially the next tournament I go to play in, because especially if I'm running an SSD and want to carry everything around, I can just put them in here. I normally don't use things like this, but I will give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. All right, let's see. Do you think we'll see generic Jedi squads? Well, I'm assuming this question came in before, because I already talked about that. I absolutely want to, but I don't want them as just special forces. I want them as core, so I have a way to have a full Jedi army. Let's see. A generic fleet commander is a possibility. I don't think so for Armada, if that's what the question is about. I don't think that's a possibility at all, considering we've got a 33-point SSD. If we even went 1 point less than the 20-point commanders that we have, you'd be able to hit a 33 hull SSD in a standard game. So I don't think that will ever happen. Can we get the super tactical droid Kalani as a leader? That would be so cool. And a normal tactical droid. But yeah, I think the tactical droids will definitely show up. That might be your generic leader even. They may use that same model. So yeah, that would be pretty cool. If you got in the Legion but didn't paint stuff, do people do that? There are people that will do commissions. If you watch a lot of my battle reports with my buddy Sean, he does commissions as well, and I usually put links to his Instagram. So if you are interested in, if you're interested in doing some, doing a commission, like if you don't want to paint your own stuff, you can get people to do that. Additionally, there's a lot of really quick and easy ways to at least do like a kind of like a shading, wash, and dry brushing to get some basic colors on your models if you don't want to paint. But some people will play without their stuff painted, but the minis are so great, you really want to paint them. Like, I really suggest you try. Definitely suggest that. All right, we're gonna do a little bit more. I'm not gonna keep you guys all night, but we're gonna keep going with some of the questions. Let's see. Do you think that there will be more epic ships in X-Wing? Yes, I think there will be, but it won't be for a while. I think they want to see how the first wave of epic ships sell. And if nobody buys any of them, then it's not going to be. They won't be able to justify making more. I feel like it's been a good thing for Armada, because I feel like SSDs are selling pretty well. I see a lot of them. I saw a lot of people bring them to. We were playing today. There was a lot of SSDs today. The store that we were playing at Cool Stuff Waterford had sold out of them. At least the physical store. I think they have more on their website, but so that's doing well. Will X-Wing Epic be simpler with the re-release in the new card packs? Yeah, X-Wing Epic is different than X-Wing Huge ships, though, because Epic is also going to be like the multiplayer scenarios as well, where you can have 4 people all going in the same game. I think it will be simpler because you're going to have the wing tool, so you can actually fly like 6 TIE fighters at the same time with only having to set one dial. So that's awesome. I think that's going to make things simpler, quicker, and more epic at the same time, which I'm excited about that. The CIS had a lot of crazy ships like the Fanblade, Umbaran Fighter, Trident class assault ships, and the Solar Sailor. Do you see FFG branching out to some or all of these? Yes, especially the Umbaran Fighter, I think. And the Solar Sailor, while it's ugly, I think they'll do that. It was another Dooku ship, though, and since they put him in the Scimitar, I'm like, I don't know. But I thought for sure we would see the Solar Sailor because that was Dooku's ship. They might do one without the sails, though. That's possible. Like I think they'll have the sails, but like I don't know enough about that ship. Like if it can still fight, if it can dogfight without the sails, then it wouldn't make sense to give it the sails. What ships do you think the Clone Wars for Armada core set will come with? We don't know that they're going to have a Clone Wars core set. Like, perfectly honest, we don't know how they're going to do it. We know that Legion for Clone Wars had a core set. We know that X-Wing did not. X-Wing had little bundles, but they weren't a core set. So I have no idea. They might go on a different direction altogether. But assuming they did a core set, I feel like a Venator would be very, very recognizable. I feel like a Providence class, would be really recognizable. I don't know. It's a tough bet because I don't think they'll mirror exactly the way they did the first core set. I think the idea, and to make it successful in the Clone Wars Armada, is you have to do something that Clone Wars Legion didn't do. And I think you have to bring the cost down. You have to make that core set cheaper. So many people refuse to consider Armada because it seems like, oh, this is the most expensive game out there. No, it's really not. In the long run, it's the cheapest game out there because they only have one new expansion a year. So you really don't have to pay very much to keep up with it. You're looking at like a $50 a year kind of game. And that's not bad at all when you compare that to like X-Wing that has a new wave every 3 months, and those waves are usually really big. And I'll compare that to Legion that's gotten 2 new expansions every single month. Armada's cheap, but people see that $99.99 core set, and they're not super thrilled. So if you can bring that core set price down to like $79. And they may have to, in order to do that, it may be only 1 ship each. Maybe less squadrons. Maybe like 2 ARC 170s and like 4 droid vulture droids. Maybe something like that. Are you going to be running builds with the new VST title? Probably. I haven't done too many builds yet with a lot of the new stuff, but I will do that. I will definitely do that. What vehicles do you want to see in Legion? AT-AT. I want to see an AT-AT. Because it'd be awesome. And what named squadrons do you want to see in Clone Wars Armada? No more squadrons. I want to get rid of squadrons altogether. I don't like squadrons. I just wish they were done differently. I wish squadrons in Armada were implemented such that you could still get the minis and that there were little holes in the 4 corners of every ship. And so like if you were running all X-Wings and your stuff, you could put them into the 4 corners of the plastic base. So you would still get to see the miniature squadrons. But then instead of actually moving them around the battlefield, you would just roll like a green dice to simulate a squadron attack. And that's what I would like to do. Maybe give them new rules for that. That's how I would have liked to have seen done. But will tournament points stay at 400? No, I think they will absolutely and always stay at 400 unless there's like unless they do like an Armada 2nd edition and they change things up. But no, the game is balanced for 400 points. There are other points available. You can run a 200-point game. You can run Sector Fleet and run much, much higher. And in a 200-point game, you don't have to have a commander, so you can do like a lot of, there's a lot of new formats coming out, but you don't have to do all of that. So, yeah, that's going to do it. Can you get a Battle of Jakku bat rep when the Starhawks come out? That's going to be awesome. How many points? Oh man, the Starhawk looks like it's going to be expensive too, right? It's got a lot of dice, a lot of shields. I think it's going to be like crazy. I think it's going to be the most expensive large ship. So, how many will you even be able to fit in a list? Like, you're not going to be able to fit 3 of them in a list. I would almost guarantee you that, you know. But so yeah, I'm thinking you need to run 3 Starhawks plus MCs. Oh man, 1,600 points maybe to try to do the Battle of Jakku. Oh, that's gonna be rough. That is gonna be rough. So yeah, it would be cool. It would be cool, but it would take forever. It would forever. No, I have not played the new Armada campaign. Waiting on running a campaign until everybody else is able to get the same upgrades and stuff, because I don't want to be running, unique squadrons that other people don't have access to, and it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be balanced. So I want everybody to have access to Rebellion in the Rim before I try and run a campaign with it. But yeah. Have I been able to test out the new multiplayer Armada format? I don't think there is a new multiplayer Armada format. I know a lot, like years ago, they came out with like a 3-player or something like that, like a attack the station scenario. I didn't like it. I looked at it and I didn't like it. But yeah. Well, assuming the Starhawks are Command 4, because they say they come with 4 command dials in the release article, but you only see 3 in the picture. So, I mean, it could be either way. They could be Command 3 and have an extra command dial for a weird reason, but more than likely they're Command 4 and they just put the wrong number of dials in the picture. I feel like that means they're meant to rival the SSD. I feel like making a Command 4 ship like that. Also, that gives it gives a ship a vulnerability, like slicer tools. Who is the boarding party for the rebels? That sets all your dials, right? That's gonna be really nasty. That could be really, really nasty. It's goodness, it's Cham Syndulla, right? So if you run Cham Syndulla against any Command 4 ship, you're doing a lot of damage there with that, and so that's really nasty. That's something worth thinking about. Do you think the Onager will be a specialty ship like the Interdictor, or a meta-changing include? Everything in the newest wave is going to be meta-changing. That's what I think. And it doesn't even have to be in every list to be meta-changing, because I think we're going to be seeing salvo tokens go to all kinds of other ships. I think every ship will potentially be fundamentally changed by the end of this year, after we get this next wave. This is honestly, this is a great time to play Armada. Great time. What advice do you have for dividing ship upgrades fairly for Armada if only one person owns the game? Well, if only one person owns the game, what you need to do when you're probably not playing in tournaments, just proxy. Just like just keep one version of the upgrade handy so you can both read it if you need to read the exact wording. But if you want to have the card and he wants to have the card, just get a little note card, write down what upgrades you're putting on the ship. Just play it that way. Enjoy yourself. Don't worry about having the specific card for you, unless you're trying to go to a tournament where you have to have the cards. You're playing casual games, you're playing with friends or whatever. As long as everybody agrees to proxying, there's really nothing wrong with it. The Armada's weakest, one of their weakest things is right now is that so many upgrades are only available in one ship, and sometimes that ship is out of print or hard to find, or it's for a faction that you don't play. Why should I have to buy a Liberty to get Spinal Armament, for example? So yeah, but definitely just and sometimes you want multiple versions of an upgrade card, and you only have one of those ships. So just proxy what you need for regular games. It's so much more fun to actually play and play the list and play the mechanics that you want to have played without having to have all of the upgrade cards. My favorite Mon Cal ship in Armada is the MC-30, especially with Kirsta Agate, the way she looks when she comes up. She's going to be the new Rebel Commander that comes with the Starhawks. She looks insane, and putting her on an MC-30 could be incredible. Could be really, really incredible. Really good stuff. Well, all right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I will be coming to you guys pretty pretty soon. We've got a video for tomorrow for some of the new Legion, talking about the new Legion commanders, so stay tuned for that. And we got a lot of cool reviews that are coming soon, some really cool terrain that can be used for lots of different games, a lot of cool stuff. So I will let you guys go. I want to thank you for hanging out with me and talking today. An MC30 with a salvo token might not be that nasty. I think salvo tokens are going to be the most deadly on ships with red attack dice. I have played 1,000-point games. I think I played a 2,000-point game of Armada one time. It was insane. Or 1,200 points, or 16. I've played really big games. You could search my bat reps on YouTube. You'll see some real big games. And I love it. They take a long time, though. That's one thing that's cool about the SSDs. You can get like a lot more points in a shorter time span. All right, guys. That's all I've got. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you later. Have a great evening. Good night.